Hello, good morning. Today I'm going to be speaking about delays and why some delays are important, why some delays are necessary, and why some delay is to shaping us to who we will become in future. Our God is a faithful God. So you see, we just have to understand that He's a Father who's ready to bless us above everything. I'm going to be speaking on I will be looking at the book of 2 Kings 4:8 about Elisha. As a Christian, the Bible tells us that the just shall live by faith. And the Bible also tells us that it is impossible to please God without faith. And the Bible also tells us that we should always pray non-stop. We should always seek God non-stop for us to know His will for us and how to work with other people. The Bible tells us that God is love and altogether loving. Therefore, we should show our love to everybody. Let us read 2 Kings 4, 2 to 8. It says that one day Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman was there who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came in, he stopped there to eat. You see, the olden Bible would tell you that the woman saw a man of God who was always coming into town. And because she saw a man of God and because she was living by faith, she would always invite the man into her home. And every time the man came, the man ate. And it became a custom for the man that anytime he was in town, which is Elisha, anytime Elisha was in town, Elisha would go there and eat. And then you see where the Bible tells us the just shall live by the faith, and you see why we should always pray for. We never know where the blessing is coming from, and we never understand why a delay is there until we seek the face of God and the hands of God to be able to understand why there's delay in our life, to be able to understand where the blessing is going to come from, to be able to understand that everybody will meet one way or the other, has a destiny in our life, has a way of fulfilling that destiny that which God has put in us. So you see, after the lady had invited Elisha for a meal, and she's been doing it for some time, she spoke to her husband. They are rich, they had money. She said to her husband, you know what, he's always coming. He's a man of God who's always coming to town and living in probably a guest house, since we have the space at the rooftop, why don't we build a room for him, set up a room for him? I mean, he's a man of God, he's preaching God's work, and then we can give him a room. And the thing pleased the husband, and the husband agreed that yes, they should arrange a room for Elisha so Elisha can stay in the room. And so that was done. And every time Elisha came into Shunem, the room was always ready and prepared for him, which the Bible tells us that the just shall live by faith, and that as a Christian we must always show love. Because of this singular act, the man called Elisha called the woman and said to her, what is it that you need me to give to you? And she laughed and she said, we're rich, we're okay. However, my husband is old, I am old, but we don't have children. And Elisha said, by this time next year you shall be a mom. And I'll tell you why there was a delay. I will show you in the Bible. I'm sure a lot of people have been reading this part. Nobody ever understood. But God showed it to me. I'll show you why there was a delay in her life. And many a times the delay in our lives, we don't understand the delay. But until we go to God and cry out to God and walk with God, we will never know those delays. So, the woman said to Elisha, back to the story, the woman said to Elisha, don't raise my hope. I've been barren for such a long time. I don't want my hopes to be raised. And Elisha said, by this time next year, you shall be a mom. You shall be with a son. And true to word, because our God is a faithful God. True to word, she was pregnant, and she became pregnant. And by that time next year, when Elisha normally visits, she had a child, and the child grew up, nurtured, with love and everything. And then the Bible tells us that he went out with his father. One day he went out with his father, and he became ill. And then his father sent him to his mom. And then while the child was with the mom, he died. Now before we continue the story, let us understand why there was a delay in her life, what God said to me, because I needed to understand that part. And the reason why there was a delay was that if God had given her that child without Elisha and her life coming together, meeting, the woman would have had children and the enemy would have stolen all her children. However, God knew all the plans of the enemy to steal from her. You know, it was like the enemy was saying, oh, you are rich. God has blessed you with riches. God will not bless you with children. Because when God blesses you with children, I will take all of those children. Since I cannot take your wealth from you. Well, what did God do? God, knowing the plans of the enemy, delayed. So you can see where the delay, some delays are necessary and some delays are good. Some delay are necessary so that the enemy has no hold over what God has given to us. So that it will mold us into what we are supposed to be. And so that when the enemy keeps teasing God to say, oh, she's not going to, different things. The enemy can use different things to tease God. God knew a right time and a right person to be in her life for her to have that child, and that person was in the person of Elisha. So you see, her part and Elisha's part had not come to be, therefore she could not get pregnant. But the moment her part and Elisha's part came to be, she got pregnant. Right now, let us see what the enemy's plans were. We now know that the enemy had killed the child, isn't it? Now let us understand delay, and let us understand when we should keep our mouth shut and hold on to the Lord and hold on to his promise. You see, when the child died, it's not saying we tell as a husband and wife, we tell our husband everything as a woman, and as a man our husband tells us everything as a man, because two become one when they leave their home to become man and wife. Now let us see what the Bible tells us when the child died. When the child died, I'm sorry, just a minute. I'm just checking. I'm just trying to bring it out. So she told her husband when the child died in 2 Kings 4:23, I would like to go and see, give me a donkey, give me a man to take me to go and see Elisha. And the husband's reply was, why do you go today? He asked, is it the new moon or the Sabbath? That is all right, she said. In other Bibles it will say she said it is well. So you see, she could have easily have told her husband that, oh, our son is dead. Oh, she starts crying and walloping. This is death we're talking about. She had lost her child. The child had died. The child died. But she didn't say a word. She didn't say anything to her husband. She just said, it is well. She didn't cry. She didn't break down. And she took the donkey and went to meet Elisha. When Elisha saw her, Elisha sent his messenger to go and meet her, because Elisha saw her from afar. And the messenger ran to meet her and said, is it well with you? Is everything okay? Your son, She said, it is well, thank you. She still did not break down to say, oh, servant of Elisha, see what happened to my son. No, she did not. She went straight to the man of God who promised her a child. And then she went the Bible tells us that she went to Elisha and she said, which is 2 Kings 4:23. So she asked Elisha, did I ask you for a child? Was there any time I ever asked you to give me a child? And Elisha said, what has happened? And then she told Elisha what had happened. And Elisha said, Elisha not even knowing, because yes, he's a man of God. There's a limit to what men of God can know. But you are the one with she had so much faith. Elisha now thought that the power that he had, that God had given to him, was on his staff of office. So he took it and gave it to his servant and said, go with her and touch it on the child 3 times and he will get up. And the woman looked at Elisha, are you for real? She refused. She said, no, as long as God lives in heaven, you will go with me, because you gave me that child. That's called faith. That is called persistence. That is called determination. That is called not wavering in faith. And true to word, it was a good thing she agreed not to go with the servant, not to go with the office of staff that Elisha had given to the servant. It was a good thing she was patient and she waited and made sure that Elisha went with her. And so when because then Elisha's messenger had gone ahead of them. When he got there, he did as Elisha asked him. It didn't work. The child was as dead as can be. And so Elisha came. And when Elisha came with the woman, agreed to come with the woman, he prayed over this child. And this tells us in the Bible, this is the type that Elisha thought it was just one of the, just go there, walk in there, just pray, and then the child will come back to life. No, the child did not come back to life. Elisha laid on the child did not come back to life. Elisha had to pray, and then the child came back to life. Now, what is this story telling us? This story is telling us 2 things. One, yes, sometimes the delay is for a good reason. Sometimes the delay is to mold us, to teach us, to trust in God, to focus on God. Sometimes the delay is to even mold us into what God wants us to be, so that when the temptation comes, which they will come, when the enemy comes to knock and stress us with physical distraction, like sickness, like death, we will know who to run to. And it's not all the time. The second part is not all the time when things happen, we start screaming, oh, it's so bad. No. Dignify yourself like Jesus always did, and focus on the cross. And if you look at this story, in this story, Elisha at that time was a kind of Jesus. And the Bible tells us that the just shall live by faith. And we who trust in the Lord shall look up to the heavens and know that he that started a good thing in our life is able to complete it. He will never stop until he completes that which he started. So now tell me, people say when people are sick, when instead of them to trust God and hold on to their faith to the end and not wavering in their faith, the safe is the will of God. There's nothing like the will of God negative. The will of God over our life is all positive, all good, all happiness, all blessing. To prosper us, to heal us, to give us health, to give us in abundance, to make us the leader, not the below. To make us lead, to make us be in high places. To make us the lenders, not the borrower. So you see, today, if you're going through any kind of delay, any sort of delay, do not think for one reason or one moment that it has something to do with it. Don't condemn yourself anymore. Yes, of course, it has to do with the enemy. But sometimes God has to go ahead of the enemy to make sure that that which you are crying for, that which the enemy is trying to delay, shall surely come to pass. And that is why the Bible tells us that God, who has started a good thing in our life, will not stop until he completes that which he has started. And we have to come to the understanding that our Lord Jesus is the one who God has used to redeem us and to restore us. And therefore, when we are going through any kind of trials, any kind of delay, any kind of stress, we should just look up to the heavens and know that he truly who has started. God has said, fear not, wallop not. It will not please God to see us when he has promised us. He has sent his son Jesus to die on the cross for our sins. It will not please God to see us always walloping, always depressed, always dejected, always sad. And one thing I have come to learn about the enemy, one thing that God has filled me with: carry love in your heart no matter what. Hold love in your heart. Hold forgiveness in your heart. But don't get derailed. Focus on Christ. You see, the woman refused to be delayed, and that's why she did not derailed. That's why she did not tell her husband. Imagine if she had told her husband. It's not like the husband is a bad person. Of course, the husband wants the baby to be well, but she knew that she would disturb her faith. He would disturb her faith if she told him. He would have said to her, "Oh, but the child is dead. Why do you go and disturb the man? Oh, but the child is dead. Let us start preparing for burial. There's nothing more. Nobody can raise the dead." All of those different. I don't know what the man would have said, but I'm sure it was all of those negative things that he would have said. But she knew her husband, and so she took the decision not to tell her husband where she was going. And even when the messenger, Elisha sent the messenger to go and, guys, you have to read Elisha, 2 Kings chapter 4, the whole of chapter 4, to understand. And so when even Elisha sent the messenger to go and meet her, do you know she did not tell the messenger, "Oh, finally I've seen somebody"? Let me tell you, because Elisha had seen her from afar. So instead of she could not see them because probably they were in a high building. So Elisha had seen her, and Elisha had sent his messenger to go and meet her. When the messenger came to meet her, she did not tell the messenger, "Hey, oh, see what has happened." No, she refused. She held herself together in faith. That is what we call faith. And where can we get that kind of faith? It's not by our power. It's by the righteousness of God through Christ, which was obtained on the cross, that we can be able to hold ourselves together. You see, let me give an example of where the enemy can really confuse us. You say, for example, you're going out, you're walking, you're just a walk, a normal walk. Just say, let me just walk from my home to the junction, and just to take a walk. Let's not use the big things to tell you how the enemy is slimy, how we cannot remove our focus or gaze from Jesus. And you say, when you get to the end of the road, look, you've already prayed and saying, and then the Spirit tells you, take the right when you get to the end of the road. Don't take the left. And as you are walking, going religiously on your road, because the Spirit just whispered to you, because nothing unusual is happening. So why will you not leave? Why will you take it any serious? It's just a normal day. And then the Spirit of God tells you, go right instead of left. And if you don't focus on what the Spirit, if you are not mindful of what the word God has spoken to you, another spirit will come, which is the enemy, to counterbalance what God has said to you. The enemy will say, I always go left. It's the only